Hallo Freunde und Freundinnen und alle anderen Geschlechter. Hier spricht die psychotische Stimme in eurem schizophrenen Kopf, aka raffgieriger Boy Rafanel Muri, aka International Boy Rev, aber dazu gleich mehr. Wir haben eine grandios famose Folge heute für euch. Ja, wir. Es ist nicht so, als würde ich diesen Podcast allein machen. Mit wir meine ich die 4 Affen im goldenen Käfig, die jeden Tag unter dem Einfluss von Crack-Kokain für mich arbeiten, und ich. Heute zu Gast, beziehungsweise eigentlich schon letzten Dezember um Weihnachten glaube ich, zu Gast. Ein absolut inspirierender Dude. Ich hatte das Glück, dass ich ihn über eine Ecke kontaktieren und zu mir nach Hause verführen und ein paar Worte aus ihm raus seducen konnte. Ja, sein Name ist Samir, Ljuma. Und sie hatten mit dieser Dokumentation, über die wir auch reden werden, anscheinend riesigen Erfolg, wie ich kürzlich erfahren habe. Und er kriegt diverse Interviewanfragen etc. Von daher ist es umso cooler, jetzt quasi ein Vorher-Nachher-Bild zu haben, das wir mit diesem Podcast aufgenommen haben. Ich möchte euch seinen Film Honeyland unbedingt ans Herz legen. Schaut euch mindestens den Trailer an. Alle Sachen, über die wir so geredet haben, inklusive dieses Films, sind natürlich in den Shownotes verlinkt. Es ist wirklich eine geniale Dokumentation und ich kann sie euch allen nur ans Herz legen. Er ist auf jeden Fall eine absolut inspirierende Person, aber dazu muss ich eigentlich nicht viel erklären. Ihr werdet es von allein feststellen, meine Lieben. Er ist Cinematograph, Regisseur, Kameramann, Fotograf und allgemein Lebenskünstler. Und für Personen wie mich, die sich selbst narzisstischerweise irgendwie als Künstler bezeichnen, eine Person, die ganz klar in irgendeiner Form als Vorbild fungiert. Er ist unglaublich frei im Kopf, was ich wahnsinnig bewundere. Und er hat die Eier, das Leben zu leben, auf das er Bock hat. Umso geiler ist es, wenn man so jemanden dann persönlich trifft und diesen Vibe aufnehmen kann, sich selber inspirieren lassen kann, vielleicht ein bisschen freier in seiner eigenen Bubble zu sein. Er hat unglaublich viel erlebt, er ist weit gereist, er hat diverse Abenteuer hinter sich und er ist ein großartiger Geschichtenerzähler, was ihn natürlich zu einem umso besseren Podcast-Gast macht. Er kommt aus Mazedonien, wir mussten die Konversation deshalb leider auf Englisch machen und ich will hier nicht einen auf Reichweiten-Raffi machen und jetzt anfangen, deswegen irgendwie alles auf Englisch aufzunehmen. Trotzdem werde ich es mir nicht nehmen lassen, auch in Zukunft Konversationen auf Englisch oder Spanisch zu führen, wenn es einfach nötig ist. Ich sehe das Ganze nicht so eng. Das Intro, wie man wahrnehmen kann, ist ja jetzt auch auf Deutsch. Vielleicht wird auch noch eine komplett englische Variante dazu kommen. Ich habe keine Ahnung, es steht in den Sternen und ich bin Sternanalphabet. Aber sollten sich in Zukunft, und das werden sie mit Sicherheit, wieder solche Gelegenheiten ergeben, wo jemand eben kein Deutsch spricht, dann werde ich trotzdem Podcasts mit ihnen machen, weil ich es genieße, auch auf anderen Sprachen mich mit Leuten zu unterhalten. Ich bin mir darüber im Klaren, dass mein Englisch nicht perfekt ist. Und trotzdem glaube ich, dass die Inspiration, die man aus einem Gespräch, auch wenn es nicht die eigene Muttersprache ist, rausholen kann, absolut legitimiert, dass man sich mit Leuten unterhält. Ich meine, das ist der ganze Witz am Reisen irgendwo, was natürlich nicht ultra das Argument ist. Ich meine, man kann, egal wo man ist, auf der Welt sich mit Deutschen unterhalten. Ich habe da längst keinen Bock drauf. Ist es jetzt diskriminierend, faschistisch? Ja, mir egal. Und wenn du, lieber Zuhörer, nun das akute Bedürfnis verspürst, deinem Frust über meine arschlochhafte Person freien Lauf zu lassen, dann tu dies doch bitte auf Facebook. Seit kurzem gibt es nämlich auch eine Facebook-Gruppe, die ich eingerichtet habe, um den Podcast zu diskutieren. Ihr findet den Link dazu natürlich in den Shownotes. Ansonsten, meine Freunde, habe ich nicht viel zu sagen. Ich hoffe, ihr genießt das Gespräch und seid ein bisschen inspiriert dadurch. Ich war es auf jeden Fall. Ich fände es immer toll, Leute zu sehen, die das Leben leben, das sie leben wollen, was irgendwie absolut keine Selbstverständlichkeit ist, vor allem in unserer Gesellschaft. Was aber auf der anderen Seite irgendwie eine Notwendigkeit ist, um ernsthaft glücklich zu sein. Doch sind die meisten Leute viel zu eingeschränkt von kultureller Konditionierung, von ihren Ängsten und ihren Neurosen. Was würden nur die Nachbarn sagen? Was würde meine Mutter sagen, wenn ich jetzt auf einmal mein Studium abbrechen würde und als freier Filmemacher durch die Welt reisen würde? Sie fänden's ziemlich geil. Sie würden vielleicht lästern, aber insgeheim fänden sie es ziemlich geil. Da bin ich mir sicher. Denn ich will all diese Leute nicht verurteilen, denn ich weiß, wie schwer es ist und ich bin der absoluten Überzeugung, dass viele Leute einfach nicht dazu in der Lage sind, sich so frei zu machen, aus welchen Gründen auch immer. Karmisch, wenn man es spirituell ausdrücken will. Sie sind im Leben jedenfalls einfach nicht in einer Position, in der sie jemals die Chance bekommen oder sagen wir sich die Chance selbst geben hätten können, sich in so eine Richtung zu entwickeln. Und das muss wehtun. All die Grenzen und Limitationen, unter denen diese Leute ihr Leben führen. Mit diese Leute meine ich Otto Normalverbraucher höchstpersönlich. Und die tun weh. Und es hat seinen Grund, dass es Sinn ergibt, sich von diesen Ketten der Gesellschaft und des eigenen Individuumseins zu lösen. Wäre das nicht so, hätte es keinen Sinn, sich von den Ketten, die einem die eigene Gesellschaft anlegt, die eigene Familie anlegt, die eigenen Freunde anlegen, die man sich im Endeffekt nur selbst anlegt, zu lösen. Aber, Spoiler-Alarm, es fühlt sich scheiße gut an, wenn man es doch macht. Es fühlt sich verdammt gut an, man selbst zu sein und sein eigenes, authentisches Ich zu verkörpern. Ist, glaube ich, mit die coolste Sache, die man mit seiner Existenz so anfangen kann. Zumindest fällt mir persönlich jetzt eigentlich nichts Besseres ein, als bis ich sterbe genau das zu versuchen. Und wenn ihr nun denkt, der Typ labert doch nur Scheiße, wo ist die Konversation? Habt ihr natürlich vollkommen recht. Sie kommt hier. Leider hat einer meiner zugegucksten Affen den Anfang gefressen, deswegen springen wir einfach direkt ins Gespräch. Ich hoffe, ihr verzeiht ihm. Ihr könnt gerne in meiner Facebook-Gruppe darüber abstimmen, ob der Affe getötet werden soll. Was ich, sofern der Bedarf ist, natürlich direkt streamen werde. Ich wünsche euch so viel Spaß mit dem Gespräch, wie ich hatte, als wir es aufgenommen haben. Ahoi, wir sehen uns auf der anderen Seite. Macht's gut.
Kulturkatapult.
Maybe that will explain how I consider also myself. I was working on one movie as a producer, and we managed to get to Sheffield Documentary Film Festival.
Cool.
Which is one of the bigger festivals in the UK for documentary movies. And I tried to get some fundings from my film agency. I applied and I received a phone call and they asked me, like, what do you do, you know? I said, what do you mean? Because I sent them my CV as well. And it was, they requested that. I said, what do you mean? Well, you're doing everything. You know, you should try to focus on one thing. And I was a bit confused, but yes, mainly the film, because I used to work on several projects, but I'm always switching. I'm a cinematographer, but I do production, I do casting, I do assisting, director assistant. So basically movie maker.
Okay, but overall, circling around some creative work, you're a creative all-arounder working with some form of film.
Can you repeat?
You're mainly working with film, aren't
yeah,
you?
mainly working with film in the last 3 years, let's say.
The last 3 years.
Yeah, I started a while ago while I was still studying film school, but then I made like 4 years break. I went to live abroad. And since I'm back in Macedonia, I live in Macedonia, I'm working only on movies. So that's making living out of working and making movies.
That's amazing. You're actually able to make a living out of it and make money with your passion.
Depends how much you do need. That doesn't mean I'm making who knows how much, but if you need less,
but you're still able to live off your passion, which is quite a luxury itself, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's the most important, you know, to stay happy while doing something that makes you happy, no matter of how much you will earn. If it's sufficient for basic living cost, then you're more than happy.
That's in my opinion a very, very mature opinion, which isn't considered that adult like at least in Western European society. But it's definitely true, because you at some point you kind of have to outgrow, or at least the people I've met that share that opinion have outgrown a traditional view of making a living, including the opinion of my parents, for example. And it's simple, but it's not easy.
I don't know how it is here, but probably I'm lucky because I'm living in a country where still the costs of living are less than here. But also is a way of thinking. You know, like I don't consider myself as a moneymaker. I never consider myself as a moneymaker. So maybe that's why I feel free not to be kind of under pressure to earn for I don't know what.
I see. It's not part of your identification system as a person.
For example, if I go back years ago, when I was working in the radio station, let's say, when you can earn very little money in my country, and I was still trying to travel, but alternative way of traveling, which is possible. There are many ways. Not many people, many people will say, you're crazy or you're brave. But, you know, like the difference, it's very...
It's a thin line.
Yeah, you can hitchhike. You can use couch surfing. You can use Hospitality Club was some like previous couch surfing project, German project, actually. The founder was from Germany. Which, to be honest, I really liked it more because it was less... The design was very simple. The security of the people who are interacting were checked by the volunteers who are real people, not the machines.
That's the difference.
And yeah, maybe it was not fast as couchsurfing right now, you know, like instant checking, but was real nice. And that was the way when you don't have money and you have a desire to travel and to meet people, to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, the only thing you actually gotta do is doing it. With traveling, I mean, it's
an experience.
It's an experience, totally, and you have to initiate it. No one will do it for you. But still, it's, at least financially speaking, it's quite easy to do if you're willing to do it.
Yeah, but if you ask my father, he still think I'm irresponsible because I'm unemployed. So no social security or, you know, like health security. But I don't know. It's nomadic way of thinking, or thinking about the present and not about the future.
I see.
Because if you think about the future, you can just... It's like very fictional. It's imaginary.
That's a very important point. Yeah, the future, just as the past too, is
past is nothing.
Is nothing but a thought. When you think about it, there is nothing but the present moment.
Yeah. Well, the past existed when it was a present.
Exactly.
But now it's only our ego, the past. You know, like we want to talk, you know, how big or what we did, what we achieved, and blah, blah, blah. But no, we're sitting here. I'm in front of you. We can interact. We can talk. We can share the recipes about the cake you just made it, you know, like, or about the banana bread first time I did it today.
Yeah, it was your first time banana bread.
Yeah, it was first time I brought banana bread.
For your banana bread.
Yeah, it's but I don't know what in which way to continue, because I'm afraid we started a lot about the money, which I don't respect them a lot, because there are so many things surrounding us which can make us more happy than money, than we think that the money can make us
That's
happy.
very true. That's very true, yeah. The thing is that most of people don't see it as a means to an end, which it actually is. I mean, I'm kind of circling back right now. In my point of view, I stop seeing money as a evil thing per se, because in the end it's an instrument. It's just a form of power, and you cannot really say that any form of power is evil. Some kind of power or amount of money is always as evil as the person who owns it. For example, you couldn't say that Martin Luther King was a bad dude because he was so well known and had so much power. If the person is actually able to use it and to instrumentize it well, it's actually a good thing. But most people aren't, and that's the problem. Especially most people with a lot of money or power in general, because they are pursuing money as means to an end. That's their goal, to have money. They don't have a goal which they can use money for. Their goal is to possess, and that's in itself a very misleading thing, and surely not. It's not. I cannot judge from my own experience owning a lot of money, but I imagine it to be very unfulfilling.
I cannot even imagine myself in that position, but I cannot judge people who are owning a lot of money and they're spending on something that I will never ever think about it. But for example, the last 3 years, we were shooting one documentary movie which will be released in January on Sundance Film Festival in Utah. The subject was very simple. We found we wanted to make a documentary about honeybee keepers, but we ended up following for 3 years honeybee hunter, which is a woman, probably the last in Europe, who is taking care about wild bees.
Oh, that's
and experiencing her life through observing and through living with her in the last 3 years. Not constantly, but we had like more than 90 shooting days with her.
Where did you find her?
We found her in a very remote village in Macedonia, in the central part of Macedonia, which is abandoned.
She's Macedonian.
She's from Macedonia, from that village, but with a Turkish origin.
Mm-hmm.
She only once left her country to visit some relatives, and it was 20 years ago. She went in Turkey. She didn't went anywhere else in her life. And she's living in the conditions which probably the modern people who are enjoying the modern life or regular life, let's say. Can you imagine yourself living in the place without electricity?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I actually did live in the Amazon without electricity
for how long?
For 2 months only.
For 2 months.
Nothing.
Can you imagine that all your life you're 54, let's say, like she is?
I'm way too dependent on at least the internet.
She don't have anything. And accidentally, because we are internet addict, like with our phones.
Totally. I mean, we're recording this thing right now on digital microphones leading into a laptop, which is streaming it to the internet, and no one can listen to it without access to internet.
For example, she and her mother were living in the village without electricity. The only citizens in this village, like almost 3 hours walking distance, was the neighboring village where they can go and buy something to eat. The only income they had was from getting half of the bee that this wild bee will produce, the honey that they will produce.
So they collect the honey wildly.
Yeah. And they take care about the wild bees. So, for example, if they found them somewhere in the abandoned nest from the eagle's nest in the mountains or in the forest, they will collect the bees. They will bring it closer to them, and they will keep the honey, half of the honey, for the bees, so they can survive through the next season.
I see.
So they're feeding them. That was the only income. So from what they can collect, they will sell it so they can have the other necessary other goods that they need for survival, let's say, because during the winter there is no even the water in that village. Some months when it's frozen.
Okay, when the pipes are frozen.
Yeah, so they have to walk to get the water to bring it back, and she was only by herself and taking care about her old mother who was blind and couldn't move. So she was very old and she couldn't leave her room. Why I said that, like there are still people, and she's happy. That was my point. Why I started telling this. Even I don't know how amazing. I can explain it and how your listeners of this podcast can imagine without seeing, just imagine to live in the place for all your life when there is no electricity. In the last several decades, they were the last citizens in this village. And they didn't want to leave the village. So they have like a simplest life possible you can imagine and still being happy. And what was very interesting was she speaks 6 languages.
6 languages?
Yeah.
How did she learn that?
Because when she was a children, this village was very alive and was populated with different ethnic groups who were living in that period in Macedonia. So she speaks Turkish as her native mother language. Then she learned Macedonian. She learned Vlach because there was some Vlach community who were living there. Albanian and Roma. Yeah. And Serbian, of course, because it was Yugoslavia at that point. So, without leaving, without any formal education, to speak 6 languages only because...
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. So, yeah, Hatice. If you have a possibility, probably it will travel to other festivals. You can watch the movie and see the name of the movie.
I definitely will.
It's Honeyland.
Yeah,
directed by Tamara Kotevska and Ljubo Stefanov.
Yeah, we'll link that in the podcast too, so listeners could find it.
Yeah, and I'm one of the cinematographers. We were 2 cinematographers, Fehmi Daud and myself. And our editor and producer, Atanas Georgiev, who did a great job to edit 400 hours material and to bring it to 84.
That's probably a very hard work to choose. I mean, there's so much. I guess, I've never done a movie, but I guess you fall in love kind of with most of what you do. And at least when I have to choose painting, for example, which parts I will recreate and which parts I will basically kill and which I will keep alive. It hurts.
Yeah, right.
There's actually some emotional connection.
Well, I was not in that situation so far because I'm a cinematographer. So my job was to this project to shoot as much as possible material to observe and this material to be used because it was observational documentary. So we don't know, we cannot predict what can happen in the frame, but you have to be there and to try to make an image as good as possible in different lighting conditions. So I didn't have time. Yeah, probably when I see the final product, I'm missing something that I think that it was good. Yeah. There were a lot of scenes which we were proud of or we really loved it, but we couldn't put it in the story what we want to tell. So yeah, it was a tough job for the director and for the editor, for the directors and the editor
I imagine
to make this happen. But that's how it is. And if we go back we just wanted to do it. We were working a lot of without money or for very little money, which we managed to raise through the production phase. But we never thought. We only believed in the project. We only believed that this is the topic, and what we have access for.
You said you need like 3
that
years
deserve
for
to
that?
be told. So we never thought where and what will be the success. And now, for example, after it was selected in official competition on Sundance Film Festival, we kind of feel it. What does it mean? You know, like, and we can just feel it, but we are still not aware what does it mean, because it's first time that something is happening so big for a documentarist from a tiny little country, Macedonia. With a story which we believed in, and obviously others also noticed this story that they want to share with the world, let's say, and somehow.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that also.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's very interesting how the most minimalistic lifestyles often lead to the most happy life. I guess I've also seen that with tribal people. They are some of the most, probably the most happy people I've seen in my life, and you really start questioning stuff like it's not just like classically what do I actually need, because it's obvious that we don't need that stuff, but it was the first time I really went over just questioning and internalizing that probably there's actual value in losing stuff. Like possessing less and less makes you happier and happier if you're still able to do what you want to do, if you're still able to lead the life you want. But everything you don't actually need for that is dragging you down in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, what you're just referring to reminds me, just recalls some experience that I had while I was living in Dominican Republic. You know, like kind of a simplicity of the life when it's come to the real practice of the life. I was observing one person which I didn't have access, and I didn't know because I was only listening the stories about this person, Sasha from Ukraine, who was a homeless guy in Ukraine who ended up somehow in the Dominican Republic. And without speaking any Spanish, he was speaking just Russian. And for some of the people, neighbors or people who heard something about him, or I've heard so many different stories. For me, it was a Santa Claus, because some people were calling him Santa Claus because of his appearance. But for me, it was not because of his appearance, Santa Claus, because of the philosophy, like, if he wants to be whatever he wants to be, who we are to judge him, whether he is a Santa Claus or whoever it is, because people will say, yeah, he's a faker, he's a very rich guy who just get tired of his life as a rich Russian guy, so he decided to come here and to live on the beach without anything. You know, like he was feeding himself from the trash bins, which in the place where we were living, there were plenty of food which was thrown away from the, like 5 stars hotels and resorts by the beach. And, you could easily find food in the country where there is entire summer. So he was there, and he was very happy when somebody will approach him to start talking with him. Even they wouldn't understand each other. If you observe, you will see that they understand each other somehow. And he had his several notebooks, which were, some of them were completely filled, so he was keeping them. He always have a new one where people that he is meeting them will write the impressions. And for me was when we were a kid and we were writing our wishes to send to Santa Claus, like what we want. So basically, when you read through the people's writings to his books, it's kind of a wish, but towards him, we wish you, like a lot of sun, a lot of love, we will always miss, that kind of messages, that you can write to a stranger that you spend like 1 hour.
How did it come through those situations? Did he approach people to write into his album?
He was sitting. If you approach him, if you start talking to him, even you don't understand Russian, he will start talking to you
in Russian.
Yeah. And he will he will show you all these people in different languages, what they wrote. So you will be interested, and then you will start, that was, I speak Russian, so I was easily, in the way when I started communicating with him, we become very good friends. But, for example, he will refuse. Many people will think that he's a beggar, like leaving, or he's there that, so they try to give him money. He was always refusing. He don't want, and they will get confused because, like many rich people will pass who are enjoying their all-inclusive resorts, like holidays in Dominican Republic on this tropical island. And then they think that with a couple of dollars they can help him. Sure. He didn't need money. He don't need anything. What he needed was the sun, the sea at that moment. He was barefoot even in Ukraine, even on the minus 20 degrees. He was always barefoot, and he was in very good health and very good shape. And again, I really admire this person because. Probably before I met him, I could also think that you have to do, I don't know what, to succeed something. And then what? Right, exactly, what? Exactly. You will have the latest car, you can afford to buy the latest car, and what? The happiness is more in some simple things which we cannot notice them if we don't face somebody or something to teach us, to make us aware of. Like, for example, now I'm in Vienna. I never thought, if you asked me 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, that I'll be in Vienna, but I'm with a flow, with an instinct. Okay, I feel now to be in Vienna, and I'm here.
You're here.
Yeah, and meeting a lot of interesting people like you, and others. Yeah, really good experience.
Yeah, it's amazing, but you're free enough to go with the flow. Also, it still takes a lot of courage, I guess, and a certain way of thinking, definitely.
Or maybe I'm crazy.
Or maybe
like some, who knows how much money he has, to afford to be for Christmas in Vienna, or, you can think about that, like you can think that, but every time, like, oh, is it a walking distance? Because it's nice to walk.
It sure is.
Can you imagine if all the public transport is free? If we just exchange goods, like I make you banana bread, like
I'll make you some space brownies.
Yeah, you make some brownies.
And we still don't have a house, but at least we have some cake. That makes us happy for a day, I'm sure.
Yeah. If we didn't have a winter, can you imagine that as well? We don't need a house then.
Right. Yeah, it depends a lot on your circumstances also, just naturally, at least for tribal people. Like, of course, there are people that are able to not wear clothes at all or sustainably feed themselves. But that's the Amazon or somewhere in Central Africa. You cannot you have to compromise a lot just depending on the climate zone, which doesn't need that any of the happiness goes away.
I think you can survive in Vienna as well. For example, you go on a Christmas market, and in this consumption society, you know, like you have a lot of products that they want promotion that you can try. You know, like we had a good meal with Vincent, with Ferdinand on the Christmas market when we were trying all this what were called like spices and some spread, bread spread, or it was really good.
Yeah, it's surely possible, but that's once. Try this every day, and you won't succeed as well, I guess.
You know what? In my
not that sustainable, I guess.
In my country, there is a bunch of people. One colleague and friend, she's doing a documentary about these lovely people. They're going every night on every single promotion or exhibition in the town, in the capital. So if there are many, and I suppose here there are many, you can just sneak one from the other, and in every kind of photo exhibition or book promotion or opening of the new shop, there will be a cocktail, you know, there will be food and drinks, and, you know, like, if you're not ashamed, and what does it mean ashamed? Exactly. You can really survive, because we don't need that much to survive. Yeah, that's one way. And for example, in my country, because there's not too many promotions, or, you know, if there is, you always have, you know, like a majority of the religious people in Macedonia are Orthodox Christians. And for example, if somebody died, there is a plenty of food, you know, like there is a lunch on the graveyard, so you can survive year round. You know, like on every kind of 40 days, people will give food. You know, like there is plenty of food, and what else do you need?
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Yeah,
same with traveling. You just have to be somewhat creative, but most of it is
you have
just
your
doing
own
it.
skills. You know, like everyone has some kind of skills. You can share it for a piece of bread. You can sing a song for a piece of bread. You can teach someone what you've learned, or you can share your experiences with somebody who wants to listen. And, you know, for example, when I couldn't travel because of the visa issues, you know, we were coming from the country which we were really... there were some few countries where we can travel free without visa. And it was expensive, you know, if you're a young student, you couldn't afford to get a visa because you're not employed, or, you know, like stuff like that. But also, you know, Europe was very, you know, closed for
just
us.
Politically.
Yeah, politically. We can host travelers. So, you know, I was cooking for them so I can hear their stories. You know, like where they're coming from, what is the language they're speaking, you know, like what is the most interesting or famous person from their village, or whatever, you know, any kind of stories that we are right now sharing between each other from our experience live.
Yeah, that's very true. It's beautiful what you can take out of just out of personal experience, meeting people while traveling, or even staying at home.
And yeah, you can travel case, even staying at home. Sometimes
that's true. Yeah.
If really, for example, my grandmother was all her life was living in Brussels, so I was not able to visit her. When I find her, it's a long story. I don't want to start. But yeah, so I couldn't visit my own grandmother, so mother of my father, because of the political issues, like even there was no Belgium embassy in Macedonia, so you have to apply through the Dutch embassy. So I was 3 times rejected. Luckily, the things have changed. Through the years, and I had a possibility to travel. But can you imagine if this didn't happen? The only way how I can travel somehow was through meeting travelers from other countries.
And you're still. I mean, why are you traveling at all? In my case, it's definitely to get some new perspectives, especially through talking to people I didn't know before that have stories that differ very much from mine. And I mean, I imagine you can get a big part of that at home too. Just getting new perspectives on things, especially at home, probably because you're getting perspectives that are totally different at things you knew for your whole life, that are not conscious anymore, and foreign people see that probably in a different way.
But you can experience also with talking to your neighbors. Every individual is a kind of a universe. Somehow we don't know anymore our neighbors because we are so close, though, in our bubble with our group of people or people who thinks only closer to how we think. We create this through the social media, through the networking based on interest, and we forget to open ourselves to our neighbors. Maybe if there was no internet, if I didn't check today how to make banana bread, maybe I could make it even better banana bread if I just ring the bell of our neighbor. Well, you never know, really. We have doubts, but we didn't try.
You never know.
You never know until you try.
That sums up quite well a lot of what you said. Like, you just won't know. You never know if any experience will be pleasant or unpleasant or good or bad until you try.
Yeah. Because again, we are coming back to the future, which is imaginary. So we can only think, okay, if I ring the bell, maybe she will be angry that I ring her at 5 o'clock, which is a time for resting, But no, it's our projection of what will be if we do certain thing, and we didn't did it. But we never know what will happen if we did it. If we rang the bell, who knows?
Yeah, ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Do the moment right now and here.
Yeah, a lot of people live their lives without ringing any bells at all, without trying any possibilities. That's what makes me so sad, because a lot of people were, I don't know, a lot of people could benefit a lot from just stepping out a little more of their comfort zone, and the only thing they would probably need is one experience of actually doing it, of actually overcoming themselves, and from then it's always a little easier. But
I don't judge them, maybe it looks like it's easier for us, but for them maybe the easiest way is to be in their closed environment. And I'm happy if they're happy, but I am sad if they're not happy and keep doing what they're thinking it's good for them and still being unhappy.
I would definitely share that point. But still, don't you think that there are a lot of people that are unhappy doing what they're doing for a living?
Many.
Living in conditions that they unconsciously chose for themselves, that they are now suffering from, and the only thing they would actually need is to break out only a little, to shift their consciousness, to open up a new possibility, even if it's just mental. And I sometimes consider myself just lucky to have had those experiences, because overall I've been spawned in this world and just doing what felt right as good as I could, and I'm lucky in some way of having had those experiences. And a lot of people maybe just miss that luck, who would probably enjoy it or use it even more. I don't know how to express that exactly, but
you should start with the first step always. Whatever you want to change, if you think, you have to make first step for making the difference. But you will start making difference if you think there is a need for that. If you're not aware that you don't recognize need of making a difference. So many people, they live in their comfort zone only because they don't see the need of doing anything else,
or even just a possibility. Imagine not knowing a single, even I guess that was way worse before the internet, because now you can connect with people you don't know personally and see that they are doing amazing stuff that inspires you. But imagine not having a single person in your life that inspires you in some way, that is breaking out of that. Because I, for myself, I'm quite sure I wouldn't have had ideas like traveling without knowing that some people, I don't have to know them personally, but without knowing that it's possible. I'm not the first person to do this. And if you're totally disconnected from that inspiration, I guess it's really hard to come up with ideas yourself.
I can tell you one example of a very person in my life who probably was the reason that I started doing photography and what I'm doing right now. Like, he was the one who just planted the seed into me to show the passion and interest about photography, and later on about the movies. So it's a very significant person in my life. He actually started doing photography when I was born. He have his own regular job that he's complaining about. He's a lawyer working in the state institution, dealing with many people who are coming to complain about something, like the properties and stuff like that. So kind of a bureaucratic person, like he's representing the bureaucratic system from 7 till 4 every day. But from the other side, he's an amazing artist. He's an amazing photographer. He's like a walking encyclopedia for jazz, for photography. Like his spirit is like it's amazing. Like you can learn every moment something new out if you spend time.
Those people are the best.
Yeah, and after his job, he's again in his box at home, because the life made this happen. Like, he has a child with cerebral palsy that they have to take care with his wife. So they're both working. So they have to manage somehow. And yeah, if you have a chance, you can check his website, Life in the Box. Dragin Nedelchevsky.
I'll link that to in the description.
So I'm telling this example, like, even with a person with that kind of life, which if you ask someone else, if you put someone else in this kind of life situation, what will be the creativity if they can show? Probably nothing, because they will always complain about job that they don't like, and about the life conditions that they are in and that they cannot escape. That's what, like, it's the life. But anyhow, even living in the box, somehow, he had his own camera and the passion, and he made amazing story out of it, which helps a lot of people who are facing the same difficulties to work as a motivation somehow. And also towards the inclusion of the people with special needs, especially in the societies where I'm coming from, where still we are facing kind of stigmatism. There are many families who are hiding their kids only because they have special needs.
That's dark.
Yeah, it's very dark. Yeah, but like these kind of people and examples who can show their personal life as something that is reality that is happening, will give motivation to other people to start talking or to bring the issue out. So why I mention him? It's he have choice to live in the box and do nothing, to be a boring bureaucrat, and to get stuck
and die like that.
And die like that. But he tried to find all other opportunities in the spare time, in these little tiny slots of his daily life, that he will not deal with the family issues or with the work, to make something which will remain for, and it's so inspiring for the others who will never probably face that kind of or we cannot even imagine to be in that kind of situation.
It's incredibly inspiring.
It's very inspiring.
Even in that situation, you can actually take responsibility for what you what you're doing, for the output that you have into this world,
and be so socially active and to motivate. Like he's one of the founders of the photographic group of people. So he's the most enthusiastic, who will always push to every other members of this photographic group called Scrap. This year was like 15 years of exhibiting, of existence of this group. Every year we have a photo exhibition, or this informal group of photographers from my home city, where he's the founder, and he's the still the turning wheel of doing it. Motivation.
Yeah,
I don't know. He found the power and the motivation in some other things which are out of his box, and for me it's inspiring to observe, or to I'm happy that I have access to his life, through what we are doing together, but it's also motivating me to even if you're doing something which bothers you, if it happens that you have to do something which doesn't make you happy, there will be things you can do that will compensate that kind of feeling.
Turn it around. Yeah, that's truly beautiful, and in that sense, we're quite blessed having the internet, because those people can reach out. I mean, it's totally a different thing, obviously, to have such a person in your personal life, but it's a great luxury to be able to reach out to people like that when you don't have that possibility in front of you.
Yeah, to every time I meet somebody that I'm really inspired by whatever they are doing, the thing that inspires me and give me the hope is when I see how people are enthusiastic in whatever they're doing. Even if it's even if it's the simplest thing you can imagine, when you see with how people are doing with a passion, or with like recently I met a person which I was really shocked in. He's like a security or like a doorman, I don't know how to say it in English, of the state tax institution.
Oh, yeah.
The way how he treat the people. So he's there for security, but he helps you more than many of the official experts or representatives who are working there, who's supposed to give you the information that you need. he's the one who gives you, like, hi, how can I help you? It's not his job, but he knows more where to send you and how to help you. And, like, for example, like they're going for a lunch break and you just came on the wrong time, and he will stop the person that you need. You don't know who you need. He will say like, oh, like, he's here, like, don't make him, you can go and do it this quickly, like, that's amazing, like his simple job makes you think that, and he really enjoys it.
He's not locked up in the system like the people who work there probably in this bureaucracy.
But it's a personality as well, it's a rare when you find these people, but it's really nice when...
But they exist, they out there.
Yeah, they exist. Maybe the next door bell will introduce you with another amazing person that you can...
I will ring the bell tomorrow.
Yeah, you should.
Honestly, I know two of my neighbors that live right here.
Yeah,
the end of the floor. I don't have any idea.
Start talking about yourself, and you will open them as well, and they will tell you. Like,
just lead by example. Yeah.
People are shocked when you start talking about, when you open yourself. Like, they're like offended. Like, what he wants from me.
That's true. If you're a little too quick with that, especially while traveling, when you kind of get used to that, always from the start opening up totally to people that you feel attracted to, and you suddenly have a person that cannot receive that, that has no experience with it. It gets uncomfortable for them really fast. But if you just continue with it normally, you can crack them open at some point. Yeah. Not everyone, honestly.
Not everyone. Not everyone. Of course, not everyone. And we are not supposed to.
That's also true. That's a little psychopathic.
Yeah. But we can give a try. Give a try.
Yeah, ring the bell.
I remember, before, when I was a kid, when I was growing in Macedonia, in Yugoslavia, let's say, it was really funny because every recipe, there is a joke even, because at the home where I'm coming from, we are considered like Scottish in the wider, like very stingy, like if you're from Tetovo, you're supposed to be stingy. There are many jokes about that. So, every single recipe starts with borrow 2 eggs. But you know what? With borrowing, it means interaction. You borrow, and then there will be a second chance to meet the other the people that you will give it back, and you can, like when you borrow, for example, a sugar for your recipe, you will not bring it empty, like you will put something from what you've cooked and you will bring it back, like, or if they share some stuff they cooked in their plate, you will never bring it empty, you will always put it something, it was very interesting custom, which unfortunately it's disappearing.
It's
disappearing, unfortunately.
Yeah, we talked about that in our anthropology classes too. Actually, there's no such thing as a kinship system, a system of relatives that is not based on some exchange. Like, it's very abstract today, but it's all coming from exchanging something. Land versus women for reproduction, whatever. Animal, food,
words.
But there's no such. It's just like it's a little cynic, but it sounded like people wouldn't actually form communities if there was no such thing as borrowing relationships and stuff. If no one feels the urge to give something back, people won't connect. But you can also use it as in your example, because that's just the way we are. It's just how humans work, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you can only get something if you give. So,
and you automatically get by giving. It's not questionable. You will receive back everything you put out into this world. Yeah. It's directly connected. It's literally the same thing. If you're getting a little better at that, you already enjoy the process of giving as hell too. It already starts with just giving. not mentioning that you always receive after that too. So it enables you to give even more and give even more and put more stuff out there and enjoy even more. And also, what better thing do we have to do?
You know,
I'm not
like
sure.
you mentioned anthropology. So we all have, when you don't have a knowledge about something, you know, like you're based on some kind of stereotypes and something that you think you know, but it's probably completely far of the truth and the reality. But only, you know, like, I don't know, with the jokes with the blonde girls, you know, like it's so bad, you know, like or, you know, like if you meet a Western European in my country, they think, you know, they're cold. I met so many warm, you know, like German people, let's say, you know, like which they're considered that they're the most strict and, you know, like cold, you know, like no. I really, you know, I'm here for the first time in Vienna already a week, and I've met so many local people, you know, like Austrians and Germans, students, young, different generations that, I don't know, maybe I'm short a period of time, but really, it's so enjoyable and you can talk, and I found them very open and very friendly, which is not what majority of the people in the Eastern countries where I'm coming from are thinking about the Western.
I guess that stereotype, at least about Germans, is very general. I also encounter that in many places. Honestly, I sometimes feel even the need. I'm a little bit extra because I feel the need to show that this is not true. Not every German has a stick up his ass.
Yeah, or for example, I hear, you know, like even the German people that I met, they're talking about Bavarians. You know, it's again a stereotypization, you know, like which. But we are. Kind of
still there's always some truth to it. It has an origin, not always probably, but in most cases there is some kind of, even if there was just one person that was really close up that traveled much.
But okay, you have also possibilities. You have choices.
It has some kind of origin. Yeah,
I mean, there are cases when brothers are not talking because of a stupid gift that they didn't receive it the same from their parents for Christmas, you know, and they will never ever talk to each other after. But you know, like when you are communicating with anyone, if it's a good communication, you will keep communicating. If it's not, you will go further naturally, you know. So in this stereotypization that we can say, yeah, all Germans are very cold. Yeah, maybe 100 will be cold, but 101st will be the warmest person you will ever met, you know, right. Like you will ever imagine that it existing, and will ruin all your prejudice and
that's so true. And I mean, I honestly believe that there are some stereotypical, like people of of a certain society always gravitate around some form of behavior that's normal. So hypothetically, there is the possibility that some nation or however you draw the line for some society is a little colder than the other, but at the same time, there's always the whole spectrum. Always, like you will find some ice cold people in every country, and you will find some super warm-hearted people in every place too.
Yeah.
There's no need to generalize.
You know, like everyone are like that, you know. Yeah, every bad experience somewhere doesn't make. I mean, it's individual experience. You know, like it's. Did it ever happen when you're sick that every single person that will find out you have a flu, for example, will tell you, yeah, this medicine works very good. Someone will, no, take this and this. This is, yeah, maybe that works for them, but that doesn't mean that it will work for you.
Right.
But
You're also always attracting the same kind too. If you walk around, if one person you met behaves like an asshole, this person's probably an asshole. If every person that you meet behaves like an asshole, you're probably the asshole.
Yeah, that's so true. That's true. It's kind of a reflection of who you are.
Exactly, and it's the other way around too.
Yeah, of course.
Like if you try to give love all the time, you will receive it in most cases. There's always someone that isn't able to reflect that. But most people actually are. I'm quite positive about that in my experience.
Yeah, for example, when I came back in Macedonia 3 years ago, I thought that it would be a short period of time, because everybody from my friends, they thought I'm crazy that I came back. Like everybody are dreaming to go and live on the beach, somewhere by the ocean, like to live barefoot and like to don't care about anything. It's like a best dream ever that somebody can live as a reality. And when I came back, they will say like, "Oh, you're crazy. Are you crazy that you came back?" The politics was very bad at that moment. I will say, I don't know how it's, but probably this is a German word that we use, like Gastarbeiter.
Gastarbeiter, yeah.
What German. Gastarbeiter do? Like he's going to earn somewhere else, right?
Exactly. As a guest worker is the translation literally.
So I said like I'm a Gastarbeiter in Macedonia. I came here because I went to work on the movie. Mm-hmm. It's something that I like, and I said like, if something brings me back in Macedonia, I will be work on the movie. I was missing it for years, working on the movie set. And it happened that a friend of mine who is a director, he really made a very good movie. Unfortunately, last night they announced who are shortlisted for Oscar. It was a Macedonian candidate for foreign language Oscar nomination, but he didn't get to shortlist, and obviously will be not nominated. But it was a good movie, so he called me, like, are you still want to come in Macedonia to work on the movie? I said, yes, of course, it doesn't matter what, I can be a driver, I can be a best boy, I can be whatever, like I can just run I can bring you just a cup of tea every hour, whatever, I can be just there. Yeah, and then, I came back because he put me on the list. Later on, his assistant was like, he didn't know me. We met each other on the set. We become very close friends. He was like, like I was so confused, like, who is this Samir Ljuma, on the cast list, it was empty, but only your name was there, like, who is this person, why? But that brought me back in Macedonia, and everyone who start thinking, because, people, they always want to complain about things. They try to complain about weather, they try to complain about
it's
anything, like
it's so easy to complain.
It's so easy to complain. Yeah, it's so easy to complain. But probably I complain as well. I'm not gonna say that I don't complain, because you're kind of in a matrix that
actually right now you're complaining about people complaining.
I'm complaining about people complaining. Yeah, it's also complaining. But if they ask me, for example, how it is to be there, to live there, probably is not the best. I don't know. Maybe it can be better, but it's okay. Wherever, we if you try to adapt to the situation, we as a human being, we are very adaptable. I can say, like, even if they put you in prison for something, for all your life, you're gonna live as much as you're supposed to. Even if you're the most expensive island with everything surrounded, you will adopt that as well. Probably much easier. Or maybe not, like we hear so many people that we think they have everything.
Probably both persons in your examples, the one in the prison and the one on the island, isn't happy.
Or maybe both are happy,
Or maybe both are happy. But,
or maybe both are not happy. And, from our perspective, we will say, yeah, maybe for the guy who is in the prison, who don't have a freedom, he's supposed not to be happy,
I guess it's easier to get happy in the prison as it is surrounded by so many fucking objects that always distract you from actually developing and being happy.
Yeah, I don't know, we are talking about North Korea, like how their closed society, without internet, without possibility to access of information, without freedom of speech, without many kind of freedoms, like we are discussing about that. And probably we cannot judge that they're not happy. I don't want to say that this is a good system, but somehow I put myself in the situation if I have only one type of information all my life. For me, that will be reality, and I will try to find, like the way of being happy will be in different form.
That's a very cool perspective.
If I have only one, for example, if you are growing up as a kid without a computer, that doesn't mean you were not happy because your neighbor were growing up with a computer. Yeah. Because for you, the reality was something which was in that frame. And you try to it's not a measurement of being happy, how much you have in comparison to what.
Right, there is no such thing you could
you cannot
compare yourself
to. But yeah, there was one interesting documentary about North Korea, which is brilliant. Let me try to think about the name. It was something with a sun, but when it comes to name. But anyhow, there was a director, a foreign director, who had an access to go in North Korea to make a documentary. The only condition was that they write the script. He accepted. He accepted. And they were pretty tough. What he did was brilliant. So he didn't try to trick them. So he showed what they script. But he showed at least 2 or 3 takes of one scene that they script in the documentary. They wanted to present their society, and he left. I don't know. We call them tales. I don't know if
explain it, please, for listeners.
For example, if you have one sequence, one shot, you have from the action to stop. Like camera action, camera stop, but always camera is running before and after. Mm-hmm. So you have the real action, which is when you edit, you have to cut, but he left it a little bit longer, so you can see how the real people who are basically actors in the documentary supposed to act happy in certain scenes, just to present that they have a amazing life and they're happy with what they're doing. So it's really a very interesting way to show the people who are pretending to be happy as a script to make a bigger picture of that.
That's amazing. You didn't remember what it's called, right?
Yeah, I don't remember, but I can.
I will look it up and link also in the description.
Under the Sun, I think.
Under the Sun.
Yeah,
sounds familiar.
I think it's Under the Sun, but it's really. It's a pity I couldn't remember the title now. But it's an interesting way of showing the life, something which is. And again, is that real? reality, what we saw. Picture. Yeah. I stopped believing in the media, for example.
in all forms of media.
No, it's like I will say like a mainstream media, or the media that I don't say I don't trust them, but I will try to find my own way of finding the truth or what I'm.
That's very
in.
important in our times.
And
you can you have the internet. You can actually find your sources. Can you
in internet? Oh, you can be tricked easily in internet as well.
For sure. For sure.
Oh my God.
Sure, you can be tricked easily.
Yeah.
But at least you can choose. At least you have choice. What you
No, you
to.
think you have a choice. Yeah, somebody decided you to believe that you have a choice.
Yeah, but no, I'm just comparing it to, for example, television.
But you know
there
what?
You don't have a choice
it's
at all.
Again, television. Who is making the content on the television? People who think that they know or they find out something. What are the sources now of the information that the journalists have access? You know, they use the sources which are accessible to everyone, to me, to you, to everyone. Why we should be more clever than anyone else who have an access to internet? And then the question is, what we find on internet, whether is a reliable source of information. Because, for example, before, you will say, okay, I will find the news. I will Google it. Okay, there are at least 3 or 5 media outlets who reported on this issue. But there are so many fake websites who completely look like the real, reliable news websites, for example.
But what are you supposed to do in the end? You can just look at some certain perspectives and
live a life
and make your own opinion of it. I honestly don't look at the news ever. I basically get my news from people tweeting about something, and then I look it up because I know something has happened. But that's like with really serious.
Okay, maybe I stopped, because I was coming, I used to work in the radio station, in the TV, in my life for 9 years. So I was part of the media, of that system. And, when I was creating or producing a content for radio, for informative program, I was using internet or the newspapers or books or any kind of source of information that I will. But there are certain rules that you can check it if it's events that you have to report. There are some rules in the journalism that you can follow in. But what about the thing that there's still people? And there are more and more maybe people who believe in the concept of the earth that is flat.
Yeah.
You understand? Probably they have their own source of information that they believed in. Which for me, it's not true, I
actually met one, and it was quite interesting because he didn't actually say he believes the earth is flat. He kind of did still. But it's very connected to what you're saying, because it was a counter action to believing the media. He says he lost his trust in the media so much that he counter-reacted and said, like, the media says the earth is round and they make fun of flat earthers. It has to be flat. And that's why he actually believed it.
Yeah.
Weird guy, but very, very funny, very cool dude.
Yeah, I mean the truth in general, it's yeah. Maybe can I use the F word? Yeah. It's I'm fucked up with the last project I was working on, with all these kids who were producing fake news and helping Donald Trump, from the other side, I was also influenced by the Western media who are fighting against Donald Trump, and like they're creating. It's always a kind of opinion. Maybe you can have your own, but from the other side, when I find out who are these kids, when I met them, when I make friendship with them, I kind of, and when I know what is the background of why they were doing this, I'm kind of on the way of confusion. I'm confused because I thought that they are doing very bad job, very bad thing. And I still believe, whatever it's used to manipulate or to misinform the people or to disinform, I think it's a bad thing that they're doing to the whole society, because they're creating, like something which is not truth, which will become for certain people truth, and so what's the truth later on? You cannot argue with someone who believes in something, For some people who are not believers, maybe, the whole story about, the Bible or any kind of religious book can be considered as fake. I don't want to offend anyone, but, I'm talking if you're not religious, you will consider that as, but
Sure.
But if this is the right book for somebody who is religious, why I should discuss about it, whether it's right or not. Everybody should have a choice. But I disagree when people are working, reshaping or maybe completely turning upside down the facts. And then
consciously reshaping.
Consciously
It's
with whatever kind of aims, people are greedy and they can do many things. We have a lot of examples from recent history to the more distant history when the people were manipulated, or maybe we think that they were manipulated. But no, I mean, so when we were working on this, when I met these kids, they didn't believe that they managed to help Donald Trump to become a president. What they were doing was only trying to use the tools which are accessible to everyone, to you, to me, to whoever, show interest a bit about internet marketing and how all this technologically and technically, how you can run the website and have your own blog and like your podcast, for example, and what you want to succeed and what kind of people and topics you can brought in. So they were just using these tools to earn some money. That was the only thing which motivated them, because some people who learn how to use these tools, they started offering their service as a teachers, and you can choose your own topic you want to work on. But if you, and he told them, if you want to earn quickly, you will use this tool which shows you what are the keywords most searched at this moment. And if for the presidential election in the States, most used or searched words were Clinton, Hillary, Trump, they were trying to make a content related to these kind of words. And it ended up that the audience that they're hitting in the States, because of the, I will say, media literacy, which we really have to pay attention on, that's the problem. It's not about the truth, and presenting the truth. It's how you will make people read or understand the media, how they work, and to be able to recognize what is the truth and what is lie, I will say, or not truth.
What's at least what has the biggest difference to the biggest distance to truth? What is the farthest from truth? Yeah, it's a strange world we live in.
It is, but you know what? It's something which is the most enjoyable, which I'm aware that can happen to me. The life, whatever brings.
For sure, yeah. For sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
I cannot change a lot, probably. Or maybe I can do.
At least personally.
Personally.
You can.
I mean, maybe it sounds, very Eastern, like Eastern philosophy. But if you're living now in the present, you will secure a better future. But if you think about future, you will miss the present. And then
it works like that. Totally. I've never heard it that way, but that makes absolutely sense. People spend their whole lives worrying about the future, and then they don't have a future anymore, and that's all.
No, but their present becomes worrying about the future.
Right.
Like all these fears, all the things can
worrying
be
about
danger.
the past, which is trauma.
Worrying about the past.
Even or having the past, at least some negative emotions connected to the past. It's super fucking difficult to let go of the past.
It's a training.
It's not
train
it's so counterintuitive, but it's gone. Whatever you may have experienced, it's gone. It's dead. All you have is the moment.
Yeah, we were talking actually today about the loss. Whatever you lose, what you can lose actually. Like something that doesn't belong to you. So
could you explain it a little further?
Yeah. I think we were talking about help me please. We were talking about I lost myself. What I wanted to say, yeah.
You wanted to talk about losing stuff that you can only use stuff that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah, I mean, losing a person in our life, for example, like we are sad, we are, like we are in grief, and but it's not about what happened to a person, like if we physically lose someone, but we are sad because of ourselves, that we lost something, like it's like our.
I see what you're pointing to. Yeah, it's because we're so attached to stuff
something.
we shouldn't be attached to. Oftentimes, I mean, and that's all you have if you're not going inwards, if you're not developing yourself, if you're not growing. If that's not what makes you happy, you have to distract yourself externally, and then it actually hurts.
Yeah, your question was actually about the past. Like
right.
When we are stuck in the past. Oh, that can happen really. I have many. Well, I found myself also stuck in the past sometimes, like maybe right now talking about something which is experience is stuck in the past. Because, like you experience, and what you experience is already becoming a past. So, like it's somehow sticking to the past. But if you develop some kind of mechanism to work, like forgetting the past which hurts you, or was hurting you, and try to remember something which was just making you feeling happy, then maybe that mechanism, I don't have an answer how you can do it, like it's probably a mental training, but if we can develop that kind of mechanism, probably we will be happy with the past, and we will live now. And
the thing is, you don't have to be happy with the past if you can actually cultivate that skill to be happy with the moment. At least accept it. If you can fully embrace and accept the moment, there's no such thing necessary as being happy with the past or with the imaginary future. If you really are able to be here, that's just not necessary, because the moment is all there is. It's filling your presence, your awareness totally. It's not necessary. Still, of course, that's a little difficult to do for people with PTSD probably, or people that are very stuck in the past.
No, for everyone is difficult,
due to trauma. No, I'm just saying it's probably possible. I'm also on.
I don't know. It's
just figuring stuff out.
We always it's a hard exercise, brain exercise. Try to set up your brain not to think about the past, neither the future, but just to
not to think at all.
It's difficult.
it's super fucking difficult. But that's why there is.
But for me, it makes sense, like that. If you manage to do this, you will enjoy the presence, whatever happens around you.
Yeah, I'm meditating for 3 years now, and I'm suddenly poco a poco.
Sí, poco a poco, sí. Hablo español. Podemos hablar en español. Si
no podemos cambiar, no es posible.
No, okay.
No van a entender nada.
Okay, slowly. Slowly you start what?
Yeah, I start to realize that they actually right. all the Zen teachings and all the people talking about meditation and similar practices for thousands of years, that the problem is thinking. It's not thinking in a certain way. It's not thinking about bad stuff. You cannot control thinking. It's out of your control. There's no need to try to change the way you think, but what you actually can control is if you think at all. It's like a television that is always running. You have no control whatsoever over the content that is broadcasted through this television, but you can choose to look at it or not. I'm suddenly understanding that all of my life I was trying to switch programs basically, and suddenly I'm understanding, or about a year ago I understood that it's a television, and right now I'm understanding that it's slowly becoming more true and more true. There's no need to cling to your thinking. It's actually in letting go of all thinking that you're able to think truly. That's also a thing. Not thinking itself is bad, but you have to recognize it as what it is, and it's super difficult. It needs years and years and years. What I'm slowly processing is that it's true, and it's worth to practice it. And I needed 3 years to just get that.
I never tried.
Needed 3 years just to recognize it makes sense. This practice has actual value.
Yeah. I'm surrounded by friends who are doing yoga and meditation and stuff. I'm somehow I can just cross through their conversation sometimes. Like sometimes I'm very bored. With this kind of conversation, because I never showed kind of interest for that, or I don't know. Maybe one day will happen like that. I don't know, really. I'm open for that, but it's I understand when they're talking, like about even the way how you breathe can make you balance yourself and your thoughts, and I never tried. Maybe we should give me one meditation lesson, after this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I can
to try. Actually, I'm lying. I was only once on some meditation session in Syria, in one monastery in Marmusa. It was very strange.
What kind of monastery was it?
It was mixed monastery. There were Catholics and Greek Catholics and Greek Orthodox, but it was in the desert, where it was very interesting experience, where many people from different religions were coming, and they were welcomed to stay there and to overnight. But for example, I know that there I met one pilgrim who was on the way to Jerusalem, who was a very religious person. I know that there was some kind of religious holidays. I don't really remember. It was 2005 when I was there. But the way how they were celebrating was completely different. That his understanding about the practicing of the religion and that kind of... For example, they set up in fire a cross, which he was like completely furious about that kind of act, and then they had like a previous, like a meditation, which is not very accepted in Christianity, and a way of practicing
it's counter-religious.
Yeah, it's a counter-religious, but so he was kind of confused, but the whole other aspect was were very on the same level of his understanding. I'm not religious, so I couldn't make the difference, but I know his reaction on the cross. So they explained like, yeah, with the fire, we want to show the way the souls can go. Like we want to make a light And it's not about the process of firing, putting the cross on fire as to destroy something, but it's to bring the light. Was the way of explanation. How did we come to this? Yeah, meditation. So the way how we came was because when I said I'd never. So that was the first time we meditated, but for me that was just be quiet, listen to your heartbeat in the desert. So maybe later you will try to.
That itself is definitely some form of meditation, because you're totally concentrating, you're totally getting wrapped up in one single thing, your total awareness. And that's definitely one way to go. There are hundreds and hundreds of practices, but it's not about the practice itself. It's you're doing something that doesn't have that much sense in itself. It's about some meta awareness that comes with doing that. It's you have to stick with one practice, continue it, and then you have to cultivate that. It's like going to the gym and growing a muscle you don't even know that exists. That is why it's so difficult. You don't even know what you're training, but at a certain point when this muscle has gotten big enough, you can actually move it, and you can a little more specific go in there. And a lot of meditation is figuring out what meditation actually is.
Yes,
definitely. I think we should wrap it up here. It's already more than 1.5 hours. It was a great conversation.
Ooh, really, 1.5 hours.
It was a very cool conversation.
It was a pleasure.
Are there any projects you want people to know of?
Honeyland. Well, there are many projects, but we will need half an hour more, so it's spread up.
Just where can people find stuff?
Because we mentioned also the truth and the fake news in the media. I can suggest that people can search for 2 documentaries I was working on. One was called, and it's online on theatlantic.org. It's called Fake News Fairy Tale.
Fake News Fairy Tale.
Yeah, Fake News Fairy Tale by Kate Stonehill. She's a young director from UK. It was her graduation movie. It is a short documentary on that topic. It's a fairy tale, which brought the whole story about fake news in the city in Macedonia, which many of the websites were built and were run from. And then the new movie, which is also short but longer than the Fake News Fairy Tale. Go a little bit deeper on the topic. It's called Selling Lies.
Selling Lies.
Yeah, Selling Lies. It's produced by Revelation Entertainment Company, Morgan Freeman Company, and directed by Oscar nominee director and Emmy nominee director Leslie Iverts. I was also working on this movie, so yeah, if your listeners of this podcast are interested about this, these are 2 movies that they can bring them to the world of fake news and all the story about that. And then, if you're up to Honeyland and the Lost Woman, Honeybee Hunter, check honeyland.earth. The website will be soon on, probably the trailer as well. But also you can follow it, Google it. It's now a part of the official competition on Sundance.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.